Hello everybody and welcome to Hearthstone Champions League. My name is Marcin Nimsh-Filipovic and I'm here with Alexander Raven Baguli. We have a pleasure to commentate this tournament for you. And we are starting off the bat with Sjow versus Orange. Raven, how are you doing and what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Glad to be back after the day off we had yesterday of casting this tournament. But really glad to be back in this group. Yet another exciting one. But what this matchup looks like is Orange has taken what appears to be an aggressive form of Druid, with the Fell Reaver in hand. That isn't too common in the regular Druid list we've been seeing in. Whereas Sjow looks like he's playing his Patron Warrior, which Sjow's known for playing Warrior full stop, but very recently has really been favouring that Patron.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm happy to see the Fell Reaver again, an aggressive Druid. Do you think it changes this matchup a lot, or it does make it worse or better for the Druid?
I think it makes it a little bit better overall, because Druid normally has to struggle to deal with a Patron board, whereas the matchup sort of flipped on its head a little bit, where Orange has the ability to be very aggressive. We can see from this hand that it isn't a super, aggressive opening, but two Druids of the Claw into Fell Reaver can really put on the pressure, and it's the type of Druid style where just a Savage Roar out of nowhere can just win the game. The only problem is Warrior does have a card called Execute, and if Fell Reaver gets dealt with in that way, it can be pretty harsh on the Druid.
I think there's even a more dangerous combination of cards. So the biggest fear when you slam a Fell Reaver on board is that there will be a big spell turn. Something like a Whirlwind into Battle Rage, into another Battle Rage, Enrage, and Execute, and you basically lose your whole deck and Fell Reaver, and you're really sad.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to build around that and to really just punish the Fell Reaver, and that's the point of the card, right? It's high risk, high reward. So 8/8 for 5 mana, but you do burn potentially a lot of cards whenever your opponent plays a card. So it can be pretty rough, but it can also win you games. But this game specifically going a little bit slow. Orange doing pretty well with 2 Shredders up, something that Warrior doesn't really enjoy dealing with. But Sjow can clear the two, at least the 2 Shredder parts of the Shredders off the board with an attack from the weapon.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine for Sjow using the weapon here, and with Acolyte he will be able to draw a card. See what's up with the Shredders. So what do we get? What was actually riding inside those mechs?
Oh,
that was
wow!
What? What? I would never expect that.
Demonic Shredders. Okay, just a pair of 4/3s, so Sjow's probably a little bit. One coming out, fair enough. There's 2 Shredders. One's, you presume one's going to be okay, and one's going to be, probably a low drop. But yeah, just having 2 4/3s straight after your opponent's killed 2 4/3s is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, that's actually amazing for Orange because he is in fact playing this aggressive Druid, so dealing 8 damage to face after Sjow had to tank 4 attacking into that 1 Shredder is actually huge. And now, what can Sjow even do? There is a Sludge Belcher that he can put, and this will interact with at least 2 minions on board, maybe even 3, but there is a hero power for sure. We know if he does that and does nothing else, there is a silence for Orange and he will lose. But from Sjow's perspective, he has to do something. He can slam one of them and also kill it with the Acolyte. Then he will have a possible Unstable Ghoul maybe as a taunt, but it doesn't look good for Sjow.
Yeah, it's definitely tough because, as you said, there's no easy way around this. If you go all in on Belcher, then you do know silence, you just lost, right? And that's it. So I don't mind the slam here. Do see Sjow that does play Finley in his Patron deck. Not everyone plays that card, but it's definitely, can swing a game a little bit over the course of a few turns, changing that hero power around. But in terms of this turn, I just don't think there's anything because Orange has a 6 damage from hand in form of the Druid of the Claw charge and the Living Roots for 2 as well. So it's going to be a real struggle, and I don't see Sjow getting out of this alive.
Yeah, that if there's double Succubus riding a Pilot Shredder, you cannot do much about it.
Yeah, it's pretty ruthless. A 4/3 for 4 that summons a 4/3 when it does. Many can. And this probably highlights the joy that everyone will experience once Standard kicks in and Shredder won't really be a card anymore. So people will appreciate maybe not seeing turns like that in the future in some competitive play.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But on the other hand, if you still enjoy Shredders and Succubus's riding inside of it, you can still play Wild format, so that's something. But Raven, let's remind everybody, what are we doing here? It's Hearthstone Champions League, $10,000 prize pool, and today we are facing Group C. which is, I think, a group of death.
Yeah, I think in a tournament that's probably one of the most stacked tournaments I've seen for a long time, there's 4 groups with 4 players in each group. Group C does, it's a hard call, but Group C does seem like one of the hardest. It is Sjow and Orange, as you guys can see, and then the other 2 players are Lifecoach and Strifecro. So 4, highest of the top end players in one group. And as I said, the tournament overall is quite stacked, but this group, I would have to agree with you, Nimch, that is probably the group of death out of all of them.
So let's recap what happened. We started on Monday. We had Group A with Stansivka, Kolento, Dog, and Sixo. Stansivka and Sixo did advance from Group A, so we will see them in the playoffs. The top 8 playoffs. Kolento and Dog got eliminated, and if I'm saying Kolento and Dog gets eliminated, this means the tournament is really stacked and harsh.
Yeah, and then in Group B we had Ecop, RDU, Pavel, and Hoy, with Pavel and Ecop moving through to the next stage. So RDU and Hoy being eliminated, which again, just another 2 names that you just wouldn't expect to hear eliminated in the first stage of the tournament. But when the tournament's this stacked, it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And tomorrow we're having Group D with Ostkaka, Hannibal, Z2, Tides of Time, and Ties. But that's tomorrow. Right now we are facing Rogue and Warrior.
Yeah, this Orange is looking pretty okay so far. Having the prep is definitely nice, maybe to get into sprint, because something that you need as the Rogue is the card draw, because the Warrior normally has that card draw, and both decks actually rely on having large hands and pulling off big combos. But Orange is looking okay so far with the early minions that you can potentially backstab into Coin SI, but that might be a bit too much just to deal with a ghoul at this point.
I think weapon is fine. So backstab, just weapon up, kill the ghoul, not losing anything. He still has a possible coin for SI if he needs it next turn, even though he will be floating some mana. But I feel like Orange is in okay position at the moment. He decided not to use the backstab, which means that it might be a bit awkward to deal with the 1-3.
Until he draws Deadly Poison, and suddenly it's fine.
Well, how to kill Acolyte without killing 2 damage to it?
Well, you can yeah, true, that's a good point. You would take 1, won't you? Yeah, that's a kind of a tough one, actually. He didn't go for the clear on the girl, as you said, so maybe being a little bit punished, but also his ideal would have been this turn, would just be to backstab the girl, hit, and then SI to either, face or something like that, just to, get more tempo and get more value out of the backstab as opposed to just casting it and using the hero power.
He might have a really nice Edwin this turn if he goes for it. And with Edwin Van Cleef, the situation is that if Warrior cannot answer it, if Warrior doesn't have an execute, you can just win the game right there. And he's going for it, I believe. That is a call into Edwin.
And to be honest, it's not something like the good thing for Orange here in this big play is that Warrior doesn't mulligan for execute against Rogue. You just don't, right? You mulligan for the Fire War Axe as a high priority, and then maybe Death Spite and then the patrons and stuff like that. But you don't mulligan for execute. So the earlier Orange gets his Van Cleef out, we can see, the less likely statistically that Sjow has an execute available and something to proc the execute as well. So dropping that 8/8 is pretty huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge, and it was a nice plan from the beginning where Orange kept that backstab specifically for that turn, and now Sjow is in trouble. So if you go for Mr. Finley, what can you get? You can get a ping, you're going to slam Belcher next turn. So what's the best? If you play Belcher, is it Finley and Armorsmith maybe? Because this Edwin is going for face.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I was gonna say ping is pretty good for the Finley because you can ping your patrons, and you can also, more importantly, if this board gets Blade Flurried now, he can actually ping execute if he draws into it next turn. So it just gives him the option where it's not crippling him too much for the mid to late game.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And now an interesting situation for Orange where he's a bit off curve. If you just you can prep oil SI. That's I think the biggest amount of damage. Just buffing your Edwin, buffing your weapon, going face fully. What you can also do is kill the Acolyte of Pain to deny the draw. You know that your opponent was able to draw cards, and this is showing exactly that there is no execute. So your Edwin is secure for now. So maybe you just want to deny the draw as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's fair because he's shown that he doesn't have a way to kill Edwin. So you may as well not give him multiple chances at drawing that way. And, you can't really sniff at hitting for 11. That seems pretty reasonable. And he still next turn has a Sjow Drake potentially into prep like this or something for extra damage, or even be able to just almost guarantee an SI with the prep as well.
Oh man, there are so many good cards for orange. If he gets a sap, if he gets as backstab enough, like Eviscerate would be great. Oh man, he got a sap. That's huge. He can just slam Azure Drake, prep, sap, go face.
That's actually just insane. Everything's going right for orange so far. Yeah, this is very scary at this point. And because it's rogue, I mean, orange is running low on cards, but even the Thalnos is cycle, right? So, like, next turn, he can Thalnos SI, and then potentially get some cycle out of it the turn after, if the game even lasts that long. Because we can see that Show's now in full health, and there's still that 11-8 on the board, which is extremely scary.
I think that's basically it, because if he plays the Belcher, he's dead on board. Edwin kills the Belcher, Azure Drake kills the 1-2, and then orange goes for face. So super fast win, and really a courageous win as well with that Edwin play.
Yeah, and really fast games so far, pretty crazy. So just talk about the lineups. Orange has Rogue, Paladin, and Druid, and Sjow has Paladin, Warrior, and Druid. And interesting that we sort of, I saw it in the Skype chat, half mentioned like, oh, Orange hasn't taken Hunter, which seems a bit odd in all honesty, because the last few tournaments, even going back to like DreamHack and maybe the one before that, in DreamHack Winter, he took Hunter. In DreamHack that he'd just come back off and won recently, he took Hunter. Like, it's really odd to just see him not take a deck that he's just been so stable and consistently performing with.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. But he was also experimenting with Fell Reavers in Hunter deck, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting, because the thing about the Fell Reavers in Hunter is you never really go to fatigue as Hunter anyway, so you don't really care about the card draw. Or the card burn, should I say.
That's right. Okay, but Sjow is not dead yet. Orange still has to win with his last deck, and his last deck is Paladin?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we've just seen his Rogue, we saw his Druid, and again, we'd have to, sort of presume it's Secret Paladin, but then again, we didn't think anyone would be bringing the Aggro Druid to the tournament, so, maybe bringing, like, off the expected deck seems like a good play for Orange, and again, by him not bringing his sort of trademark Hunter deck, maybe he's thinking, right, well, everyone knows I always bring this deck, they'll be expecting it, should I just bring something completely different?
So what I would expect, if this is not a Secret Paladin, I would expect Orange bringing the Aggressive Paladin. Aggressive Paladin with some Divine Favors and a lot of fast minions. Because if it's kind of in line with the fast Druid as well, where you want to exploit this one control deck your opponent has and always kill them really fast with those fast cards.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about Aggro Druid and Aggro Paladin specifically is that it can be difficult for your opponent to know what style it is until like turn 4 or 5 potentially. And suddenly you'd have to just flip your play style, because if you expect Secret Paladin, well, they still might go, turn 2, Coin, Minibot into, Juggler, Muster, all those cards are still in the deck, right? It's just that there is then some additional surprise burst. But we do see Orange's actually playing Secret Paladin as we go into the third game.
Yeah, and we've seen Consecration as well, so he's playing at least one, and we had a discussion about it on Tuesday, I believe, that some players play Consecration, some players don't. But this matchup, I feel, is in favor of Sjow. So with this kind of warrior, specifically with Finley as well, and a bit of a better hero power, he will be able to deal with the 1/1s and with the creatures that Orange is putting into play. He just needs answers for the big turns, like Mistress Challenger to have an execute, or maybe Beacon Hunter, or even board. So Sjow,
he either needs the answers like the executes, or he needs to actually just put patrons on the board on turn 5, and then by that point the Paladin, it becomes very difficult for the Paladin to come back. But the Druid hero power from Finley is actually really good, because also on top of buffing the weapons that Sjow has, and still gaining some armor and dealing with the 1/1s, as you said, you can use it to proc the secrets quite easily. which as we can see now. So now like Finley's guarded, so at least he can do something else this turn and not have to just run Finley into a 2-1. And as we can see, Finley would have actually just died straight up if he took the juggle there. So Druid Hero Power really good for Sjow at the moment.
Absolutely. And Orange is missing turn 3. He can still play a minion here. And then after that, he'll have a pretty good curve into that Mysterious Challenger. What about Sjow's hand? He has Acolyte of Pain, which is nice. He also has Deathspite, which is the best card for Warrior. You always want to have it versus Paladin. And he gets the Patron, so it improved immensely with that one card.
Yeah, this is pretty huge because it means even if he holds onto the coin, which I think he will. Oh, is he going for a clear now? Oh, okay, he's going to clear. It means that even if he gets Deathspite, he's got one more turn for the really good setup for turn 5 with the Inner Rage if he can draw it. But even if not, Deathspite into the even 2 patrons is pretty difficult when Orange will almost certainly want to just drop Mysterious Challenger turn 6.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And now the Deathspite taking care of this piloted Shredder. So Sjow will try to take initiative on board. Oh man, Patient Assassin is actually bad in this situation if we see Patrons next turn. But we might not. Sjow still only has this one Whirlwind effect. But Patient Assassin at least kills the Acolyte.
Yeah, kind of weird though, because it still gives it 1 card draw, right? Because it doesn't take damage, so
yeah.
That's still pretty good. It's doing the best it could do. Really weird, but this is actually, I think, a really good turn for Sjow, even though he can't Inner Rage now.
Yeah.
Because I think you just don't. You never go, oh well, I can't Inner Rage, so I won't make 2 patrons on a Paladin's empty board. Like, it's pretty reasonable, and this will actually almost certainly alter Orange's line of play.
Yeah, because now if you play Mysterious Challenger, there is a chance that one of the patrons will run into Noble Sacrifice, get another patron, and make it a bit more difficult. But, you know, Deathspite is another card, like Piloted Shredder, that's actually rotating out with the Standard.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Like, I'm kind of looking forward to see whether Blizzard actually go, okay, we've took this weapon off the Warrior. We feel that Warrior should have X amount of weapons available. So are they going to design a new, like a new 4-mana weapon or something like that? That'll be really fun.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And Sjow with amazing board, double Armor Smith, Unstable Ghoul, and Patron. So it has a lot of potential. Not only it will give him health, Paladin cannot really go for that Ghoul without activating extra Patron and extra health. So Mysterious Challenger doesn't feel that great, even though it's still the best play.
Yeah, it's really rough. I mean, again, killing off the Ghoul only really helps Sjow at this point. Holding off to try and get like Redemption Pass into Tyrion to get double Tyrion, again, just doesn't do much when Sjow's going to have so many patrons available to him.
So what will be the play here? He's getting another patron. He knows there is a Whirlwind effect, but he will not activate it yet. Just attacking into a 2-1 doesn't change much. Gives him 2 armor though, 2 life. And then he has a couple of options. He can go for another patron if he wants more patrons on board. But how many patrons is too many? Also, he might expect Repentance. And if you expect Repentance, what is the order of play you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you do want to play the Acolyte and then play Deathspite, because it means you can get an extra 4 damage off with Deathspite, and you set up for the following turn, in which, worst case, if there's randomly an Equality Consecrate out, you can stack patrons again because there's already a second patron in Sjow's hand. And there's no rush for Dr. Boom. Look at Sjow's board, right? He's going to gain all the health in the world. He still has that Druid Hero power to gain him a little bit more armor. And he can follow up with Boom later if he needs to, but enabling potentially another wave of patrons against a class that already struggles, I definitely think is the option here.
Yeah, absolutely. And now this board is so annoying for Orange because you want to go face to deny the armor, but on the other hand, you know the Armor Smith is going to be there, like both of them, and there's another Whirlwind effect that you can see on board even. So attacking into an Armor Smith with a minion doesn't makes much sense, but he goes for the Patron though to deny a possibility of Patron spawning from the Whirlwind.
Yeah, he's just reducing the potential, but oh,
that's nice.
Yeah, executes a reasonably okay draw for Sjow here. He can just remove the 10-5 off the board, and what he can do is actually just use his minions as weapon to clear the Tyrion up and drop the second patron again. So you end the board with 2 patrons again, and with the paladin putting his 10-5 into a patron just to kill one off, he doesn't have great answers on hand, and the Tyrion's probably the best he's got. Kind of interesting his value in the potential second card draw from the Acolyte over the patron for popping the shield.
Well, Sjow is playing a lot of control decks, so he knows the value of the card draw, especially in a situation where he's dealing with Tyrion and he's dealing with Mystery Challenger as well, so he's not expecting that many threats. And even if the threats come, if he has more cards, he will have answers to those threats. So at the moment, he's not that concerned about dealing damage to Orange. It's more about just maintaining his board control and position.
Yeah, and I really like just playing Ghoul here, to be honest. Just execute, drop Ghoul, and then the Ashbringer from Orange doesn't really do too much. Is he going to execute? There's no reason not to, right? Or are you just that confident? Oh, okay, wow. Interesting.
Well, you have a lot of health, and an attack has to come. You're not afraid of an owl. And if an attack comes, what happens? Like, he will attack the Ghoul, let's say, with the 5/3, and then run his Mysterious Challenger into one of the patrons. Not really.
Yeah, and I think what this does as well is, like you said, the Challenger isn't actually that much of a threat, and it means if Boom comes down, which is the only real big card left in that deck, he can just slam execute, gone, done. Yeah. He's already got the answer, and he had so much health, and leaving the 10 attack Challenger up seems pretty okay. So really good play from Sjow. Probably feeling good getting that win after the very 2 fast games from Orange taking those 2 really quickly. So his warrior is now gone, and he's locking in his own paladin to match against Orange's.
And the paladin from Orange, we've seen it already. There was Keeper of Luars, nothing surprising there. And again, an interesting curve, 5, 6, 7. He needs those early drops here, especially in this matchup. I think like versus Warrior, he somehow could get away without the important cards, but then Sjow has those Secret Keepers. This is huge.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Secret Keeper in general, but in this matchup specifically, it can sometimes just win you the game, because already Orange cannot. If that was like any other card, then Noble Sacrifice might have been a consideration, so he can use his mana. But it wasn't. It was a Secret Keeper. So now, and there's an Avenge that Orange just can't play. So there's so many issues that Secret Keeper locks your opponent out so hard, and the only real way to counter the Secret Keeper is to have your own, or what Orange is going to have to do, and coin Coghammer and kill it, which is horrendous, because you lose the Divine Shield off the Coghammer.
You do, but you have to deal with the Secret Keeper. Like last turn, you couldn't even Noble Sacrifice, because you would just buff it and not kill it. So that's probably what you have to do before this gets out of control. Like, this Secret Keeper will be potentially buffed. Like, there's a lot of secrets in the Paladin decks. So if the next turn for Sjow is another Secret Keeper and maybe 2 secrets, which you can expect, is it's just going to be too much. But he decides that he will take the risk and try to get some more value. Maybe he thinks like he wants the coin for Sludge Belcher on turn 4.
Yeah, I think the issue Orange has is that if he went into Coghammer and cleared the 1/2, then he's got no good way of dealing with the mini-bot at all. So, other than just stacking attacks in, so it's going to be really rough for him. So I think what he's doing now is taking a hit on turn 2 by just hero powering and saying, okay, have this super early game, but like in the next turn 4, 5 maybe, then I'm going to look really good. Because although Sjow's got off to an amazing start, if you look at his hand, the longer the game goes on, Orange is looking pretty nice with his Challenger, Boom, with Belcher beforehand as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because next turn, Sjow, if he doesn't draw something like a Pilot Shredder, he will be forced to play those creepers, and even though there's a lot of minions, a single Belcher can stop a lot of this power, and if he follows up with all the big stuff, even getting a weapon somewhere along the way, he might be able to survive. And Sjow was conservative before with his weapon, so he kept it for minions, but now he decides this is the time to go for face, especially with the second Coghammer in hand.
Exactly, yeah. And the thing is for Orange as well, the 2 secrets that he's drawn are the 2 secrets that he almost certainly runs 2 offs. So it's not too bad that he's got the Challenger to put down, probably before these secrets come out. potentially. But like, if you're ever going to draw secrets, you want it to be these, because if it was say redemption or repentance, it means he has to play them from hand, and then his challenger doesn't draw them anyway because they're normally one of. So pretty good there. He does go for the muster and avenge to almost guarantee it. This does get the avenge out of the way and still have the ability to draw the second one from the challenger. So not too bad at all from Orange.
Yeah, absolutely. That Master for Battle was really good for him on that specific turn, because now he will start to play the cards on curve. But Sjow, fighting against that board, and Blessing of Kings can help him to kill one of the biggest creatures, or just put a threat on his side of the board. He still can play Secret Keeper on that same turn. So I wonder how is he going to play it out. Just going for the token and probably going for face with the 6 attack Shielded Me bot.
Yeah, it's definitely good. There was a thought to Blessing of Kings, the Spider, because what's nice about putting it on the Creeper is that it's a 6 health. A lot of the time, when it's not been damaged, so 6 health's really awkward to deal with. But on the flip side of that, an Owl shuts it down very hard because it removes the Death Rattle and the buff. But Orange is going to follow up with his Mysterious Challenger, probably feeling okay. Sjow has a lot of small tokens he can use to proc the first, like the Noble Sacrifice from the Mysterious Challenger, but looking at Sjow's hand with just a Cockhammer, Orange is probably just hoping that he doesn't run a Divine Favor as well, and then feeling pretty comfortable.
Well, it's still a bit dangerous looking at all this damage. There is, if you proc Noble Sacrifice with one of the minions, you still have 10 damage that you can go with for face. Like even more with the secret being played.
Yeah, that's true. So what's that? 11, right? So he does take him to 3.
And
if
there
he
is the
chooses
weapon.
to go face.
So that's pretty harsh, because Orange could start racing, especially with the Sludge Belcher in hand. But there's always this threat that, hey, if the Sludge Belcher dies, my opponent only needs 3 damage, and that's weapon and one spider just killing me next turn. So Orange might be forced to play Belcher and start trading, but even then, Sjow can draw into something to deal that damage that is needed.
Yeah, and the 3 charges on the Coghammer is pretty big, actually, because at first, like, Belcher Noble Sacrifice looks like the obvious play, and that's what might have to come down. But when Sjow has so much health, he just doesn't care, then he can use his weapon, or if he has a token spare, to proc the secret. So this is looking pretty rough, actually. Orange had the late game, but Sjow might have just gotten a little bit too quick, and that Blessing of Kings making all the difference, if I'm honest.
So if he goes for Noble Sacrifice and Belcher, can he stop lethal here? 7/7 killing the 6/6, then there is Avenge as well. That should be... Okay, he will be safe with the Noble Sacrifice, because the Belcher does not die to everything, so Sjow still needs to draw into something to deal a bit more damage. Is True Champion enough? He buffed the Secret Keeper. Is that enough, though?
Yeah, I think. Oh, this juggle actually changes things, right?
Not really. There is a Noble Sacrifice. Like, we have to.
Yeah, but you can run the 1/1 in. If the juggle hits the Belcher, he runs the 4/3 into the Belcher.
Oh, wow.
Weapons the
That's
the 1/2, and then the 3/4 attacks.
Oh man, that juggle! Like, it had to go into face or it had to go into Sludge Belcher. Now it's enough. Now it's lethal on board.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. Good work, juggler. Sjow's trained them well. I think it is, right?
No, wait.
Did he attack? He attacked in raw. Sjow realizes he missed it.
Oh man!
Oh no! Because the 4/3 should have gone in, and then the weapon goes into the sludge, and then 3 attacks the face. So Sjow really crazy from Sjow, actually. Sjow's sort of known as one of the super stable, consistent players as well. So he's probably, as you can see on the camera, he's not happy that he's missed that, and a little bit upset with himself.
Do you think Orange also missed that lethal? Because Orange is just looking at the screen. He's like unfazed. He's like, okay, I'm fine with that. But still, I think the game is over anyway, right? Or not really. Orange can deal with stuff. He can kill...
I think because that's Coghammer, it's over, right? Because he can't play...
Yeah, I think so too. He can kill the True Silver, but he cannot deal with everything on the board. So Sjow is not being punished.
Yeah, I think it's just too much anyway, isn't it?
Okay, so what's the best? You need to kill the 4/2. So you attack with 1 minion into the 4/2. You need to kill the 3/2 juggler, and then there's There are two minions who can heal for 2, go to 5, take 3, and there's still 3 damage that kills you. So whatever you do, however you want to win this game, there is no way to do it. And we have a tie.
Yeah, a little bit dicey for a second there for Sjow as he did miss that, but he was so far ahead that Orange just needed maybe that one more mana to play Tyrion to feel a little bit safer. But yeah, that is going to be tied up now, and it's Orange's Paladin versus, I believe, Show's Druid.
Yeah, I think so. Like I don't have the lineups in front of me, but that is in fact Druid, so a really good call. And this time Orange is getting a really good start. Secret Keeper into Shielded Minibot, into Keeper of Uldaman and Coghammer, so this is really nice. And Keeper versus Druid is one of those cards that you really want to have in your hand, because Druid ramps, and if Druid ramps into something big like Dr. Boom or maybe Ancient of Lore, if you can change it into 3/3 and deal with it, that's great for you.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the matchups where you lean more towards making putting the effect on an enemy minion as opposed to buffing one of your own. Because a lot of matchups you use the Keeper of Uldaman to just increase tempo and power on the board. Whereas I completely agree. If like Druid of the Claw comes out and then you can just make it a 3/3, it's so good to the Paladin.
A really nice response from Orange to deal with that Aspirant, even though Aspirant didn't do much in this very situation because Sjow has nothing to ramp. He has Shade of Naxxramas. Still, he might actually go even for Innervate Druid of the Claw, just to have more power on board early game.
Yeah, this will be an interesting one because it does mean Orange can actually follow up with Minibot Avenge, and then the turn after he can play the Uldaman if he needs to.
Oh man, another Uldaman.
This is looking pretty nice for Orange.
For now, but Sjow doesn't have a bad hand. Sjow got the most important card in this matchup, which is Swipe. And for now, he can't use it really. Normally, there is just a swipe response to Master for Battle, but it feels better if you have a swipe in hand. And double Innervate, if he continues drawing big creatures, something like Ancient of Lore.
Something like, what, Nimsh?
Oh man, this is... it was looking good for Orange, but with Innervate, Ancient of Lore, and the 4/6 still being on board...
Yeah, this is a tough one. Do you actually kill off the 5/4?
I think you do. Oh, he's actually going for face. The problem with this is that if there is another... Well, there's the Keeper. You're in a bad position. If there's another Coghammer, you're in a bad position. So you hope that your opponent will have to kill your creature, but versus Paladin, it's a dicey play. But it's absolutely a play that you can make. It's a high-risk, high-reward. And maybe Sjow felt like he needs to pressure a bit more. And in this matchup, I think the advantage is on the Paladin side overall, and in most of the matches. That's why sometimes you need to make those risky decisions to give yourself a bigger chance to win the game with Savage or Force Nature.
Yeah, and Orange had to feel pretty good about the previous play because he'd just seen Swipe, right? So the one thing that clears up that board really nicely would have been Swipe, so the odds on Sjow having 2 pretty low. And now drawing straight into Lotheb to follow up is really good, because on turn 6 is normally a turn where the Druid, like maybe plays like Shredder Wrath or, like maybe a Wild Growth, because there's nothing like too common, maybe Sylvanas,
Thaurissan?
that gets dropped as a 6-drop. Yeah, and Thaurissan. So playing the Lotheb, but one challenges a card like Thaurissan and locks out any, spell combos or anything like that. So really nice play for Orange there, and he still has the Keeper of Uldaman to follow up with any, troublesome minions that come out.
Yeah, and if he wants to pressure, he can even just dude up and then change the Silverhand Recruit into a 3/3. So he has a couple of options. Easy way to deal with the 2/4 and try building an advantage on board. Is it the time to play Secrets?
I think it might be. The problem is the Secrets feel really slow, but it's hard for us to want him to play Uldaman because Dr. Boom's about to get played. So Sjow seeing both Uldamans out. Uldaman's pretty much the only answer to Boom other than Repentance. So it's going to be a little bit rough, but there is 9 power on the board from Orange, so definitely not the end of the world.
Yeah, there's one other answer that you can use versus Boom. You can use those good old minions that attack into it, or you can just ignore Boom and pressure, but then that's really risky if you don't kill the bombs. I think you need to kill the bombs at some point. Like, looking at 3 minions from Druid's perspective, like from... When you're facing Druid, you have to think about that Savager. It is somewhere there in the deck.
Yeah, 100%. And the bomb there, taking off the 3/3. I do like the clearing the bombs and then just obviously playing everything here. Oh my god,
Yeah.
another bomb clearing off the minion. Little bit rough. He does, the juggler's safe though, which is why he didn't try and snipe a bomb, because he wanted his juggler to live. And he does get, a couple of secrets down. So pretty powerful board if this board survives. And now we're going to see how Sjow chooses to try and play around what these secrets could be, because one isn't noble sacrifice, right? And that's normally the one you have to play around when you have a single minion on the board. It might force him into a hero power just to, test for noble sacrifice.
Which is fine. I mean, this is Paladin without cards in hand, and if those minions get buffed with a competitive spirit, they are still not doing that much damage. And you have the tools, like Paladin is out of cards, and that's the key thing. If you kill everything here, you still have Ancient of Lore on your side, you can draw cards, you can heal yourself, but even this turn you can just slam Lothar, or Force Nature to clear it, so a great position for Sjow.
Yeah, and the second he realised what the secrets were, the Avenge guaranteeing to go on a 2 health minion, and there being just one more 2 health minion left, means that Force of Nature was so nice there, just to clear up. It does leave a token on the board, but, the show's probably not too concerned by that, and that looks like the biggest challenger I've ever seen for just a split second there.
Yeah, but it didn't bring any secrets. So it was checking the deck just in case. It's like, what? No secrets in the deck?
This isn't what normally happens.
And this is it with Force of Nature from the top. Sjow is actually reverse sweeping orange from 2-0, or rather from 0-2 to 3-2, because that boom is going to face, and then Force is enough to finish the match.
Yeah, what a crazy set. I mean, how quick the first 2 games were. I thought this was going to be, like a 3-0 or maybe a quick 3-1. And then Show's actually brought it all the way back. So, pretty crazy there from Sjow. Like, good work for him. Orange isn't out, though. Orange is just in the losers bracket sort of area of the group where he will face the loser of the next match, which is Strifecro versus Lifecoach. And then the winner of that gets to face the loser of the winners match. So, Orange isn't out quite yet.
Yeah, but today somebody is going to be out, and 2 people will advance to the final day, to the top 8. But for now, give us some time, guys. We'll prepare the next match for you, and we'll be back after a short break with more Hearthstone action. Raven, and we're going to bring you the Lifecoach versus Strifecro match. We're jumping straight into the action.
Yeah, so game one, we've got Strifecro on what looks to be potentially Reno Lock, and Lifecoach on the other side with Rogue. And Lifecoach has been streaming a lot of Rogue recently, so I imagine this is his variant, which does contain the double gadget Zan, but we'll see as the game goes on, of course.
Absolutely. So, what do you think about the matchup, Rogue versus Reno Lock? We talked about it, I think, on day one, or day two even, when Pavel was playing, where Rogue might have some trouble if he doesn't have enough burst.
Yeah, you pretty much, or at least I feel as Rogue, you need to set up the board and set up potential burst so that when Reno is played, because you have to sort of, presume the Warlock will have it. So when it's played, you can then present so much burst that playing it isn't too much of a problem for you. It's funny to just see both players here completely waiting until the end of Mulligan phase and then see what's going to happen. So there's Strifecro's cards going. Okay, cool. So I think the Rogue keeping a lot of, or trying to draw a lot of cards is going to be very important. Whether Lifecoach can get a sprint early on is going to be key to him winning this, because he definitely needs the options versus the Reno Lock.
Absolutely. And like watching Strifecro and Lifecoach, I always come back to this match at Viking House Cup 3 and Transylvania when they faced each other in the final of the tournament. And then Lifecoach won versus Strifecro. I think they faced each other once again, but it's always great to see one of the best European players versus one of the best US players. But then we haven't seen Strifecro lately.
Yeah, I've not seen him in too many tournaments, and that's a shame, really, because he's definitely, as you said, one of the best American players that we're aware of anyway. And it's always good just to see like the two sort of powerhouses like this, and both are very, very much known for taking their time, being quite, using quite just slow and steady approach to the game in terms of like the sort of grindy approach there. And Lifecoach, known for his roping, of course, and he will take all the time in the world when his option is either prep or hero power, or both. So.
Yeah, I'm just laughing a bit because they both have great minds, and what they do, they vocalize what they are thinking about. So it seems like they are talking to each other, where in fact they are talking to themselves, just vocalizing what they have in mind and going for those options. So we'll see both of them actually talking during the match, even though nobody is listening.
It's really interesting to watch the way different players approach the game. And even like something Lifecoach's stream, where something that I've not seen too many other streamers do is he'll literally play a turn or a game, and anything he thinks was sort of interesting about it, he'll have screenshotted. Then he sits and goes through the screenshot with chat and try and work out what was going on and why and what the best play was. So very intense stream, but very good one. And so far, this game's going pretty slow. I mean, we just dropped the Chow. Strifecro's just got into a tap, typical Reno Lock openings. And again, with the Thoris and Bran, kind of expecting it is Reno and not Handlock.
What about Malilock? Because
there's nothing that we've seen that. Does Malilock run PO?
You normally you don't. You normally do not run PO in Malilock. So I think like the PO might actually give it away as a Reno Lock. But still, this is an amazing end from Strifecro, where you have the Bran into a possible Twilight, which will just double its health. Then the Torison, not hitting many things, but it's still a good body on board. So you should be able to pressure your opponent. Lifecoach deciding to go for the backstab weapon attack and refresh weapon.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. He can drop the SI, but what's good for Strifecro is he has the Dart Bomb, so one of the key cards in this matchup, purely because it kills SI7 agent. So I imagine we'll see SI this turn. I think it's too good to pass up to just remove the 3/3. And whether he probably, because just Dart Bomb feels bad, so he might actually just coin into tap if he really feels like he wants the cards, or he might try and hold on to coin, play the Drake next turn, then coin into Thoris, and then just hope he's drawn into good enough cards by then.
Yeah, absolutely agree. You cannot really drop Bran here because it will just die. So coin into Twilight Drake. How good is it?
The only thing you're worried about there in terms of committing to the coin at least is that sap's a bit of a problem, and you're also just leaving the 3/3 up. So if you get like sap and then just pile on more pressure, that could be an issue. I mean, it's okay though, because if it gets sapped, you replay it on turn 4, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
it's
you
not too
continue
terrible.
pressuring. And Sab is taking 2 mana from Rogue, so Rogue will not have a lot to do on that same turn.
Yeah, and this solves the issue of, as I was saying a little bit earlier, where like just Dark Bomb on turn 3 just doesn't feel great at all. Even though it does remove the minion. So we'll see how this pans out. We can see Lifecoach doesn't have the sap, and doesn't really have too many options beyond Tomb Pillager this turn.
Yeah, he cannot kill the Drake. He only has 6 damage, as far as I can see. And that
Yeah.
backstab can be really good with Azure Drake next turn. So going for Tomb Pillager is probably the play. And then just going for face. Keeping the weapon, possibly. You're not going to refresh the weapon next turn, so why not keep it? But then Lifecoach is obviously thinking about the grand plan of the game. Like, what is he going to do on 5, on 6? What's the follow-up? What can Reno Lock play? What are the biggest threats?
Yeah, that's definitely the way Lifecoach plays this. Always 5 turns ahead in terms of what he wants to do and accomplish for each of those turns. And this is definitely going to be awkward though, because if the Drake goes into the 5/4, it starts 2 health, which makes it, and it's not backstabbable, so it makes it still a little bit awkward for Lifecoach to deal with.
And that's probably the play, because if you attack into the 5/4, you can still tap and kill the 3/3 with the Dark Bomb. But is there anything else? Like, this deck is really complicated, mostly because there are one-offs. So when you decide to use the card, you will not have a second copy in your deck. So I can safely assume that this Dark Bomb is the only Dark Bomb in the deck.
Yeah, and I think it's what a lot of players like about Reno Lock specifically is that you have so many options because you're running 30 separate cards a lot of the time. So you have so many different options and ways to play each turn or each game with all the turns. So it's a really fun deck to play. And Lifecoach is just Strifecro is just going for the tap, the Dark Bomb there to clear up the board. And as he said, it's a little bit awkward for Lifecoach to deal with this 4/2. He has drawn into Deadly Poison, but like dagger up, re-dagger, Deadly Poison, kill just feels too slow.
Well, he can always play a minion coin deadly and kill it with a weapon, but then you're spending deadly poison on that specific 4/2, and you lose the weapon as well. That might be worthwhile though. If you go for Azure Drake, it will be uncontested after that, and you draw a card as well.
Yeah, that's true. Because as we can see now, like both players are definitely just going for the tempo. Neither of them are particularly trying to, rush each other down or, anything like that. They're very much tempo-based, this matchup, until one of them gets the opportunity for some burst. And Strifecro might well be running the, some form of combo like we saw Pavel run on Tuesday.
With Arcane Golem or maybe Leroy, faceless, possibly. Okay, so Lifecoach decides to go for a simple Belcher that's going to stop the 4/2. He values the coin more, which makes sense. We don't exactly know what he has in the deck. He can have Gadgetzan, or he might be looking for a big Violet Teacher play. So spells are always good for the Rogue if you can deal with a 4/2. But this enables Strifecro to actually use Moral Coil.
Yeah, the coin's really important because it also just directly enables combo. Like, no matter what you want to play, it just creates a combo. And Strifecro got a bit of an awkward follow-up. He can play Bran, but the odds on the Rogue being able to answer this are pretty high. But it's obviously better than playing nothing. So just playing Bran again, just to try and put something on the board to create some pressure. But now there's a lot of options from Lifecoach. Actually, he can Violet Teacher, backstab, weapon up if he wants to. He can just Drake backstab, trade the 1/2.
Or Drake backstab, attack with the weapon.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that would actually be better.
Yeah, so a lot of options for Lifecoach, but whatever option he chooses, Strifecro still has answers in his deck, and he can play a slow game. And next turn he can even just drop Thorison. So for Lifecoach, what do you think is the best play? So if you play Azure Drake, you draw a card, so you advance your game plan more or less, and you create a board where you will have a 4/4 and a 1/2. So you might try to bait out removal a bit, like something like a Hellfire Coil. I don't think about that Shadow Flame will be played, but you bait out you get more options to the draw, and you bait out removal before the Violet Teacher is actually played.
Yeah, I like this because also this is one of the better backstab targets in the deck. It's such a clean kill because Reno Lock normally plays a lot of quite big minions, so backstab is just, 2, but then I've got to do an extra 4, 5, or 6 or something to kill it off the board. Whereas this is pretty clean. It gets that 1 charge off the weapon out of the way as well, so you can work on refreshing it next turn and getting the 2 charges with the potential deadly poison. So I like that play a lot, and now it's over to Strifecro to sit and have a little think about what he wants to do. Is with the addition of Dark Peddler into his hand, he does have a few more options now.
The scary part for Strifecro is that he already has to think about possible lethal. Like, can Lifecoach have the God Hand, which will be dagger up into preparation, oil, deadly poison, flurry. That should be enough to finish the game. But he just has to decide on the best play anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely rough because, if those 5 cards, because he knows 1 is the coin, if those 5 cards are, like as you said, like some sort of ruthless combo like that, even maybe with evases or something, then definitely in some scary water there. But Strifecro actually is going for the Thorson because unless there is lethal from 20 health for the rogue, then Thorson effectively has hyper taunt and has to get killed or dealt with in some way.
Absolutely.
All the while still reducing Strifecro's hand down. So what's pretty key as well, getting 2 of those cards at 0 mana. So the 2 buff cards, so Abusive and the Power Overwhelming, 0 mana spells and cards are pretty good in general. Like being able to just drop them no matter what you want to do with your turn is pretty powerful.
They are pretty good, but Strifecro is facing a really huge problem here. Actually, 2 problems. The first one is that Rogue has tempo and minions on board, and the other is he doesn't have any heal in hand. He only has Sludge Belcher as a possible taunt, but then no healing possibility. So if Lifecoach decides to make another tempo play, even sap Thorson and go face, deal as much damage as possible, then he might position himself really well.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had the option. I think the only problem with going aggressive versus Reno is as much as we can see Strifecro doesn't have Reno, he could have it. And if a Reno board clear then comes down, then, you're so far behind because as the game goes on, the Reno lock is normally, able to draw 2 cards a turn effectively. And then also dropping just in general bigger minions than you are, so you start to just lose out on that tempo. So Lifecoach just go for the trade to remove Thorson off the board, holding on to this sap, which will be important so he can pretty much deal with whatever comes out next to try and challenge this teacher.
Yeah, I think I like it. Like you really want to deal with Thorson, and Strifecro gets Pilot Shredder. So on this turn, how can he deal with the teacher, or does he even have to? Deal with the teacher? He can obviously AoE twice, but that's not even a play. So maybe trying to find a better answer with Dark Peddler, and then Slam Belcher.
Yeah, I think this is pretty reasonable. For some reason we can't see the Peddler cards, which is weird. But yeah, this is fine. If you're gonna AoE, you wait till the Violet teacher's created the minions first. It's not like the 1/1s have charge. So you can wait 1 turn, let him build up a board, then the AoE becomes more valuable.
Yeah, that's right. Getting a Dragon Egg, which is not great, but we're playing versus Rogue, so something like a Fan of Knives can be awkward suddenly, or Flurry for 1 mana. I can also spawn a couple of Whelps. But for Lifecoach, he didn't pick up Lethal. And he always has to mind a possible AoE. So he might still go into minion trading and try to outvalue the Reno lock.
Yeah, I think it is one of the ways a lot of decks do beat Reno is by having such a powerful board that even if they drop Reno, their follow-up, because Reno costs 6 mana, their follow-up isn't normally too powerful. So then your board's so big that you pressure them back down to near the health they were at anyway. The good thing for the egg in Strifecro's or on Strifecro's board is that it's a target that's probably going to get left alone, that he can use Power of Overwhelming and Abusive Sergeant on, as if it was sort of like a Nerubian egg. I mean, obviously the thing that comes out of it's a lot smaller, but it's nice to have a token that can actually just eat a buff that you're not too bothered about dying.
Yeah, that's for sure. So how many things you can play on board, not overextend to something like Twisting Nether, which will be available next turn.
Yeah, I think this is okay because although it looks like the board's quite full and heavy, realistically there is only really the Teacher and the Van Cleef. Because the Van Cleef, the tokens don't really matter too much, and that is only 2 minions, and Lifecoach has got the follow-up of Tomb Pillager as well. The only worrying thing now is Lifecoach just really wants to sprint. He has Prep Sprint and a coin and another coin from when Pillager dies. So he's got so much like way to get value from his cards. He just doesn't have any cards to get value from at the moment.
I'm just looking what's the best play here because there's a couple of interesting ones. You can go abusive Big Game Hunter on Edwin. That's one of the things that will take 2 mana. You have 6 more. And I would like to play Belcher if possible and maybe even squeeze in Demon Wrath, but there is not enough mana to do that. So maybe Demon Wrath anyway to deal with the tokens and then still abusive Big Game Hunter and maybe slam Piloted Shredder.
What about just Demon Wrath Hellfire, AGH and abusive? Clear the board and leave the 4/2 on there.
I would probably like to have a second AoE, but Strifecro decides that it's better to use both. Which is also fine. I mean, he's developing a good board after this, clearing all the minions. And when you play versus Rogue, and you're at 16 health, you do want to clear all the minions because of oils. And
I think the idea as well is he knows one card has been in the Lifecoach's hand for a long time, and then the other card is the coin.
Yeah.
So he's probably thinking he's just seen a teacher and a nice, little combo from Lifecoach to fill the board a little bit. So it's like, does he really have like? Can he drop like 3 more minions on the board to warrant an AoE? Probably not with that, that low hand, because he knows 2 of the cards are probably not minions because he can tell one's the coin and then one's probably something like prep, maybe like a Fan of Knives or something like that hasn't really, had a requirement to be used at this point in the game.
Also, interesting fact is Strifecro has that ooze and he hasn't used it last turn. Apparently, there was not enough space if you want to clear everything. But for this turn, he can kill the Belcher with the PO and then slam his own Belcher, but then it's not great. So maybe just playing Belcher and Shredder.
Yeah, it's a real tough one actually, isn't it? Because if you play Belcher and Shredder, the Belcher just straight up dies, but I suppose it means the Shredder then straight up kills the Sludge Belcher, because the Sludge Belcher would kill the Sludge from the Belcher, you'd imagine. But this is okay as well. Is he just gonna? Yeah, this is nice. This is fine.
Yeah, this is a really strong turn.
Yeah, because if you tried to just slam it and leave it, it would probably be a little bit awkward. And here's the gadget design that Lifecoach has desperately been waiting for.
Oh man, he kept that coin specifically for that. Well, that's actually the coin from Pillager, but the preparation. Yeah. And can he preparation into Fan of Knives? Oh, he got eviscerate.
This is okay. At least it's a spell. I think you do drop the Thanos, right?
Yeah,
because you can evis and then still Fan of Knives.
Absolutely. That's a miracle turn. So Miracle Rogue is back, confirmed. Can we get another spell? Yes, please.
Oh, it's
wow.
Fan of Knives. Oh my god, this is taking me back 2 years?
Yeah,
to the old Rogue times.
2014.
Oh my god! And they draws it. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be like a second prep into Leroy Cold Blood.
Well, to be honest, he still had an opportunity to get a coin.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, ooh. No, you can't get a coin and hope for a prep, right?
Coin into prep into.
Oh my god. This trade is nice because it gives him the height. Okay, it just leaves the 3. Did Lifecoach attack with the 5/4 then? Did I just miss that?
Yeah, with 5/4.
He did attack.
Yeah,
he did attack. Yeah, sorry. This is really nice. Killing off the Shredder just makes sure that nothing too crazy is going to happen, and the minions just smaller. Because when you have 14 health, you do have to think, right, okay, if I can either leave the 4 attack minion up, or I can potentially give him like a 1/1, which is a big difference when you're on 14. So decent play from Lifecoach there.
And he actually outvalued the Reno lock. Strifecro is just sitting there. He can tap for something like Reno, but he doesn't have a kill even with Arcane Golem, and he can't clear this board. Like he can't even kill both minions. Like he can Arcane Golem into Gadgetzan, which is key. Shadow Flame. Wow, that's big.
So do you have to seriously weigh up Arcane Golem hit face Shadow Flame just to clear the board?
Yeah,
because this seems really good. Keeps the 3/2 alive, and the extra mana crystal does nothing because they're both on 10 mana anyway. So that actually is just a 4/2 charge, and that AoE pretty big. Lifecoach is still looking okay, mainly because of that Fan of Knives allows him to get an additional card draw, which is probably going to be really important at this point in the match.
So, you still slam Torison, right?
I think you Fan of Knives first.
If you Fan of Knives, would you attack into the 3/2? So you've seen Arcane Golem. you've seen Dark Bomb, you've seen Hellfire, you've seen a lot of damage dealing
Yeah.
cards. Can you actually afford attacking with the weapon into the Murloc? Because you'll have enough mana, right? Like you have 5-11, so you can coin the weapon.
Yeah, well, I think he can. He could actually. I was weighing up whether he actually just evisces the 3/2 and just Fan of Knives for card draw anyway. But you Fan of Knives, see what card you draw, and then potentially evis the 3/2, leave Emperor on the board, and then you're representing a 5/5, and your opponent's board is empty.
I would not be opposed to like even attacking with the weapon. Depends obviously on what you draw with Fan of Knives.
Yeah. Purely because then you've got attack Blade Flurry next turn as well as potential Emperor.
All right, he goes.
Was you going to keep the Fan?
No fun, I guess.
Okay. I like this just because it says, it's really, really safe. Like, as we said earlier, with the Arcane Golem gone, there's not a lot of cards from the Warlock. Defender of Argus, though, is definitely a card. And you know what? What's a bit scary about this matchup, what we're forgetting, is we've not seen Reno yet.
Yeah, Reno could come.
So if Reno came down, it's like, oh, sorry, what health were you on? Like... It just doesn't matter anymore.
And we talked about it in the very beginning of this game that Rogue has only a certain amount of burst. It's kind of like playing versus Warrior. And if Rogue cannot burst you, a Rogue should not be able to win. We are seeing something different here. Like Lifecoach was playing a value game, and Lifecoach is one of those players that can show you a different style of Hearthstone. Like sometimes you think about the matchup in a certain way, and then Lifecoach comes and he plays it backwards, and it works.
Yeah, it's very strange, and it's just Sylvanas Argus, just the best you're gonna get here.
You're not dead to sap. Basically, there's only 6 damage, 7 damage with the flurry. Well, Strifecro doesn't know there is a flurry, but even without the flurry, it's just 6 damage. So you feel good about it. There is a sap, but he's still not dead. Lifecoach needs to pick up 1 more damage point, which shouldn't be that difficult.
It does have sound.
Yeah, he is a rogue. So SI, Deadly, Oil. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, and that's pretty big for Lifecoach. As I was just going to say, in this deck specifically, I don't actually think he runs Oils, because this is his the double gadgets and variant, with like double gadgets and Violet Teacher, Tomb Pillager. So really good for Lifecoach there, getting the SI7 agent. How close was that game one?
Man. There could have been Reno at any time, unless Strifecro actually cut Reno from the deck, but I doubt it.
I'm playing one of luck. Like can't call it Reno luck anymore because I actually cut that card. I think it was good enough. But yeah, and this is this is the downside of playing a Reno deck, is that when you are quite heavily reliant on Reno, winning you certain matchups. And you don't draw that card, you can lose pretty hard. Because what's crazy as well, we didn't see Earthen Ring Farseer, we didn't see Healbot, did we? So we saw zero healing from Strifecro, which we don't know what cards are in his deck, of course, but that actually just sounds quite unfortunate, because you at least expect Reno and a Healbot, right?
Well, I believe he has to play one Healbot at least. When you play Brown Bronzebeard, you cannot not play...
Yeah, it's too good not to, right?
Exactly. But I feel like his version was a bit more aggressive because he had Sylvanas and Thorison and Pilot Shredder. So I felt like at least how he played this matchup, he was really about the aggression and dealing damage. Because it makes sense. Like if you have all those fallback cards like Healbots and Reno.
No, he's just playing the ultimate mind games. Reno's not even in there. He's playing one of Warlock. That's the new Strifecro deck. See it soon on Half Pound, no doubt.
It's actually not that crazy even, Raven, because I've seen Strifecro playing decks without win conditions. He just was grinding his opponent out. But
I think I remember casting with Savitz when Strifecro was playing his mage deck that he played at one point a couple of months back, where it was just the mage was just like, yeah, I'm just going to play cards that Mage has and hope I don't die. But we just couldn't quite work out on the how he planned to win most of those games. But yeah, it didn't fare from too well then. But he is switching over to Druid, which I would imagine, unless he's doing a bit of an orange tactic here, it's going to be pretty standard mid-range Druid that everyone, we know what that win condition is. Let's be honest.
We know the win condition, but still there's a lot of changes to the Druid lists. Even though slight, there are differences. So some people play double Shade, some people play one Aspirant, double Azure Drake, one Azure Drake. How many Ancients of Lore do you play? How many Living Roots do you play? So there are those differences in the decks. And Lifecoach is bringing What I believe is a Demon Warlock, Demon Handlock.
Yeah, this is really interesting. It sort of harkens back to probably one of the decks Lifecoach was most known for earlier on in Hearthstone was Handlock. He loves that deck. And Demon Handlock is, again, obviously the more improved variant, I guess most people agree. But as everyone switched to Reno, it looks like Lifecoach is still pretty happy with the Demon look.
Oh man, I'm just looking at those colors and they look beautiful. Like Twilight Drake, Mulganis, and Void Color with those different hues, like blue, green,
Very,
red.
very flat. And then we look down to the Druid and it's like brown, brown,
It's basically so
brown.
sad.
Not even gold. Come on, Strifecro. Although I imagine if he's playing on EU, it isn't his main account. So
That's true.
we'll let him off this once.
And sometimes people actually find the golden cards distracting. I don't remember if Strifecro is one of those guys, but a lot of players, they disenchant all the golden cards because they just want simple cards without animations to not distract them from playing them.
I'm the opposite. If anything, I spend too much dust on just crafting gold cards.
I
And then
like
I
that as
always
well.
craft them, and then I will, like, the next day I'll just open a pack and I'll get the golden variants that I crafted. I'm like, God damn it.
By the way, there is a Void Color with only Mulganis, and there is a risk of Big Game Hunter, but you might actually go for it. And there's also a risk of Keeper of the Grove, so I don't know, but if there is no Keeper, that Void Color can give you a lot of value. On the other hand, Void Color Silenced is a bit better than Twilight Drake Silenced, so I think coin into Void Color is really decent. On the other
Yeah,
hand,
I agree.
Hellfire.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think that the Void Call is just the overall safer play, because it's not going to get killed by a 1/1 on its own. So yeah, completely agree with your analysis there. That was really good play from Lifecoach. And at worst, if it gets silenced and then killed, well, one that's Strifecro having to put a lot of juice into killing that 3/4, but also it means that the Twilight Drake, is substantially more safe than it would have been this turn.
Yeah, and even if there is a Big Game Hunter, you do have the Hellfire follow up. So whatever happens, you're in a good position overall as life
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, and he does have the two heal bots as well, which is pretty nice just to be able to say yes. Late game, I can probably push myself out of normal combo range.
Yeah, most of the time. But let's talk about the matchup overall. Like we focus on the cards. The matchup. Do you agree it's a bit better for the Druid? It's not. It's actually close because the demons are so good, and I think it's a bit better than an original handlock without demons.
Yeah, I think it is a bit better for the Druid here. I think it is close though. Obviously, looking at Strifecro now, it's pretty nice play to silence the 3/4 and not try and kill it, because that means he guards his shade, and nothing. Yeah, and the Void Caller doesn't really kill anything relevant on its own anyway. Although Hellfire looks like a reasonable play if you just Hellfire and then run in the Void Caller into 2/4, reset the board and make that shade do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but still you have to consider other plays if there are any. If you play something like a Twilight Drake, you have minions to fight, but no, you just have to clear his board. Like the single card that makes it clear his board is Savager. If you make a different play and, for example, go for Defender of Argus, kill it to 4, and be happy with a big taunt, then Savager is not that great. But the Shade is a very important card. Like I think Shade of Naxxramas versus Handlocks or Control Warlocks, if it grows beside the AoE threshold, it's one of the key cards that can win the game for the Druid.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that what you do in this position, why Hellfire looks so good there, was because you not only just kill the Shade, but you kill other minions as well. But also killing the Shade while you can, like you said, because it can do so much damage later, is you have a very small window as the Warlock, unless you can pull off like Abusive Sergeant onto your own minion and then Shadow Flame or something to kill it later. But by then, Strifecro's probably already attacked with it. So I think killing that off while you can is really nice. And Strifecro now has a choice between realistically Druid of the Claw or the Shredder. I imagine it's going to be Druid of the Claw just to stay on curve.
Yeah, exactly, because then Shredder and Wrath is a possible turn 6 play, and then on 7 he has either Boom or Ancient of Lore. For Life Coach, Mountain Giant. That might be actually the best card to play here, even though Big Game Hunter will be a huge swing. But even if there is a Big Game Hunter, there's only 3 mana left. So that Mountain Giant just coming off the top, always good.
Yeah, and the thing with something, say, like Twilight Drake instead there is that, well, yeah, it's okay, but you can't top as well, and it doesn't kill the 4/6. So, just wouldn't have really accomplished enough. So the Mountain Giant being really nice there, and again, Lifecoach bringing a deck that no one is really that used to playing against anymore. Because you just don't expect people to bring it, because everyone's sort of either favouring Reno Lock, or as we saw in the previous days, a lot of Zoo Lock as well seems pretty strong at the moment.
I would agree that most of the people are not used to playing around this deck, or against this deck, but Strifecro is one of those guys that probably knows this deck by heart. He was playing a lot of handlocks at his time, so he knows what to expect. This turn, though, you might ruff for one, see if you can get the Big Game Hunter, unless you actually want to kill it with Shapeshift. Oh, he goes for the one. Shredder and face.
Yeah, I think this is good now because he's drawn into Swipe, and he had Force of Nature as like an issue. I think he can go face, let the Mountain Giant kill the 4/6, and then just swipe it down next turn and still guard the Shredder if need be.
So he decided not to go for face because of possible Molten Giant. If he would go for face, then 14, tap into 2 mana, Molten into Sunfury Projector was a possibility. That's why he didn't attack at this moment. He also wants to keep Lifecoach on a bigger health pool and not face any Giants for now.
Yeah, and this is going to be a little bit rough for Strifecro because, you do have to play around Moltens, but when we can see that Lifecoach doesn't even have them in hand, it's just, not really a problem for him at the moment. He does have a few other options. I think this is a turn where you can just play the one of the Twilight Drakes and the Ancient Watcher. I think it's just nice to get that on the board and then look at next turn in terms of an Argus play.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, you definitely attacked into the 4/6 to kill it, and then 4 damage. You see that Strifecro didn't attack, so it's possible that he doesn't have much burst in his hand yet. So he's not going for a turn where he can kill everything. But the nice Keeper of the Grove from Strifecro here, which means he will be able to clear the board easily. Attack with the 4/3 into the 8/3, Keeper the Drake, and Hero Power it. Is there anything better though?
I mean, he's 1 mana off obviously playing Keeper and Swipe, so I think that's pretty good play. He either does that or he decides to go a bit heavier, run the 4/3 into the 8/3 to see what comes out, and then just slam Dr. Boom and say, it's my Boom and Boom bots versus your Twilight Drake. Let's see, and I'll let you have that card because you can always silence next turn. He's probably got enough of a health pool to let that one go, but it doesn't look like he's going to favour the board player here. Let's see what comes out of the Shredder. A 2/3, not too terrible whatsoever.
Yeah. Everything that's not a 1/1, you will be fine with that. So an okay turn from Strifecro, and with the time going forward, Strifecro will be in a good position because at some point he is going to draw into Saboteur. Like even if he doesn't, he still has Force and Swipe. So if he gets an Innervate next turn, he will have access to 10 surprise damage out of nowhere. So Lifecoach needs to think about it, that 16 is not really safe from Druid.
Yeah, it's really, and nothing he's got in hand feels good. It's such an awkward. If he had 8 mana, it would feel a little bit better. I mean, there's Healbot, Sunfury, but with only 1 Sunfury, I suppose there's 2 Argus, but they're much harder to squeeze into a turn without Molten Giants. Feels really awkward to actually try and deal with. I'm not even really sure what the best play is here. So maybe you just go Twilight Drake and Sunfury and just hope that's enough for now.
I think Watcher Argus is the play because you get a big taunt and you use your mana well, and then next turn you'll be able to Sunfury. But that's fine as well. That's the biggest taunt, and you actually seen double Keeper of the Grove already.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's not likely for a silence to be out. So yeah, you've seen those. It's going to soak up a lot of damage, and then it might, if it survives, get buffed again from a Defender Argus next turn.
So back to Strifecro land. He can use the Force of Nature. He can use Force of Nature to clear the 4/9 with a weapon, with hero attack, and using one of the minions. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not great. It doesn't feel good. So maybe it's just time to slam Dr. Boom and pass, or maybe Ancient of Lore if you feel like Dr. Boom can die to a big game hunter, and that will be too much of a tempo swing for you. You might actually go for Ancient of Lore, who is barely contested, and try to draw faster into that Savage Roar.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, isn't it? Because if you're Ancient of Law, it's not like he needs to draw into a BGH or anything yet, like a really big swing card. And if he does get Savage Roar, then I very much imagine this turn coming up that Lifecoach is going to, heavily play around a combo going into turn 9 because that's expected. I actually like the Boom because it represents, one, a lot of damage in itself and almost demands a big game hunter. And the Boom bots, along with the 2 additional minions, make just Savage Roar a big threat for Lifecoach alone. So, he's got to play around a lot, and then Strifecro's a pretty good follow-up of maybe playing like Lotheb Swipe next turn to then just slow down the following turn even more.
It's not a big decision for Lifecoach to even tap, or to try to deal with this board somehow without tapping and playing the minions. So he definitely has Ancient of War and Defender of Argus if he wants to tone up. He can play Healbot if he wants to get a bit higher on health.
I think Coil into a 1-1 seems good for it to start. If he coils into like a big game hunter, then obviously that's insane. And it means he doesn't necessarily reduce his health unless the Boombot hits him. And I think it's pretty safe with his 2 minions as well.
Problem is, if you do that, you have a chance to lose the 2-3. That's why he played Ancient Watcher first.
Yeah. And Ancient Watcher did soak 3. The Argus comes down, and he's probably going to start, just clearing off these bigger minions. And suddenly the board doesn't look too scary. Like, what can Strifecro actually do is he did go into the Savage Roar.
Oh, man. So now we quickly need to count if there is any lethal possibility. That's 9 plus 4, 13, not yet. Depends on the bomb. So you basically combo out, right? And then you attack with the bomb into the 5-3, or like rather with the hero power first into the 3-2, then with 2 tokens into the 4-7, then with the bomb into the 5-3, and you hope the damage goes to face because you still have Dr. Boom at 9 and one of the tokens at 4, so you have 13. So if the bomb lands to face for 3 damage, you win right there, and you don't even take that much damage yourself.
I think the safer play is probably a little bit more Strifecro. Just because if the bomb could hit for 2, then maybe that changes it. But for the bomb to have to hit for 3, then that makes it maybe just a bit too difficult to actually try and pull off. Whereas he can Lotheb feel relatively safe for anything too crazy happening this next turn. And then maybe go for combo off the back of these minions next turn. But I do agree, like, I would have struggled not to go for that lethal if I was just like on ladder or something, because you just would, right?
Right, and you have a minion on board, like you have still Dr. Boom on board, and then you have a swipe in hand. But absolutely, I like Strifecro play as well, which is much safer. Still puts Boom in a situation where it is on board, and now it's really hard for Lifecoach to come back from this. Because what's the best play? Like, you do have one heal bot that you can play. You can go for Mal'Ganis, but then it can be dealt with easily, and Strifecro can just win this game.
I'm just actually thinking, is there a way out?
If you silence the Ancient Watcher that you have, attack into Boom, and then you heal bot, you're at 21, and you're still dead, right? So it's 7. But if you silence... Can you silence and Defender of Argus somehow to survive?
I think, does he almost have to Voidcaller, Defender of Argus, and then hope the Voidcaller gets the Mal'Ganis?
I guess.
To stop. I think that's the only thing that actually stops the guaranteed lethal. Because, like, Voidcaller Healbot doesn't do anything because you just lethal through, you just power through that with the combo. You can't play 2 Healbots. And the silence, is sort of doing the lack of Owl. Well, the Argus sort of does that job in terms of getting the trade.
Oh man, Strifecro's going for it, Raven. So if there is a Mal'Ganis, he will be a couple of damage off lethal, but if that's Jaraxxus, he has it. Oh man, unless he actually has it even. Oh
no, he has it regardless, right? Because the 7-5 goes into. Oh no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He would have been a little bit short, I think.
All right.
But yeah, he did get the Jaraxxus, and
wow.
Yeah, Lifecoach, just a bit of a laugh as he's like, yep, 50-50, lost it, okay.
That's true. Another amazing game. Wow, those Warlock games. First, we see Strifecro with Reno Lock, struggling versus Rogue, and both players presenting top level of play. And now this Demon versus Druid. And there was so many plays with this cast, but the patterns that they chose were super good to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit crazy there, and you just see how it's like sort of similar these two players are. The last game we saw Sjow versus Orange, and they were playing quite fast and maybe different style decks, and a little bit quick. Whereas everyone knows Lifecoach takes his time, but in terms of Strifecro as well, like both just very slow and steady players, and really thinking about every single turn they're on now, and also the next 2 to 3 turns. So pretty cool to see both these guys go up against each other.
Absolutely, and just to give you guys a short summary, we are watching Hearthstone Champions League. $10,000 prize pool for an online tournament. The winner takes $5,000. We are on day 3. We started on Monday. We had Group A, Group B on Tuesday. Today we're having the Lifecoach, Strifecro, Orange Sjow group. 2 of those players will advance, and 2 of those players will be eliminated. And tomorrow we are back with Group D, and then the top 8 playoffs. So a lot of Hearthstone action. My name is Nimsh. I'm here with Raven, and we have an absolute pleasure casting this tournament for you.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and now we see the Warlock from Strifecro. So what we assume is Reno, but we didn't see Reno, versus the Demon Lock that we just saw from Lifecoach. So I think everyone should get quite comfortable, because I think this is going to be a slow burner in the best of ways.
It can, but then how do you really win this matchup? That's the big question, right? Like somebody has to be a beatdown. Like somebody has to apply enough pressure to win. And on one hand, Lifecoach has the Giants and the Demons. On the other hand, Strifecro has the Burst. He has Arcane Golem with Power Overwhelming, and we haven't seen him face this Manipulator, but he has some spells like Dark Bomb and Hellfire.
Yeah, I mean, because of the Arcane Golem, I can only imagine that he does run the Faceless, and I think what's going to happen, or what a generalization of this matchup, is that Strifecro doesn't actually need to hurt Lifecoach until he has combo, and what that does is that plays around Lifecoach's Molten Giants, because if you never take him below 20, it's difficult to actually, or let him tap himself below 20.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to get those Moltens off in an effective manner, whereas Strifecro can just, get these maybe, this selection from the Dark Peddler isn't what you wanted to see. You definitely want a PO or an abusive, or even a Soulfire in this situation. Because what you really want to do is just hold on, and then just burst the Demon Lock down. Because that's what the deck's built to do, right? Just survive and then kill someone with a combo.
Yeah, so the more you were talking about this, I have to give some edge to Strifecro, because there are also great combat cards. Strifecro has big AoEs like Twisting Nether. Well, I suppose he has, because that's a card people play in Reno Lock that can wipe the board for 8 mana. Then he can have a good Shadow Flame because he's abusive, he has Power Overwhelming. So a good Shadow Flame dealing with all the giants in one big sweep. He also has Reno Lock to come back if he needs to, and Life Tap even more. So Lifecoach will be trying to have some kind of pressure and pressure Strifecro, but as you mentioned, Strifecro has this big one burst and a lot of tools to not die.
Yeah, and because he can clear off the board, as you said, with cards like Twisting Nether. Also, there's a chance of a Siphon Soul is a potential card that people can fit into Reno Lock, which can just demolish, like a mountain giant that we saw from Lifecoach earlier. So, he definitely has a lot of answers. Strifecro seemed to get quite excited about something there, not quite sure what, but as it was just a Sun Fury on Lifecoach's board. But Strifecro can...
Maybe the fact that he has 10 cards in hand?
Yeah, that's a reasonable issue. Maybe you trade in, play Coil, see what draws, and then at worst you can coin to get rid of a card. Coin tap, and then play something else.
Coin is actually pretty good for Thorson next turn, if you want to play there, and then follow up with Dr. Boom. So you can keep it. Can you Argus this? Defender of Argus, use the mana and attack into it?
Potentially. I mean, you know what? Maybe you don't care about Draxus, so you can play the use. Because if he plays Draxus, he's on 15, so then Strifecro should just kill him, right? With the combo. So maybe he's just actually, I'll just play the use, because by the time you get that weapon, it just shouldn't matter.
And that's actually a really important part that Strifecro kept that coin. Having Thorson first on board will stop Thorison from Lifecoach, I believe, because it will be hard to follow up with a Thorison if there is one Thorison ticking and you can't kill it.
Yeah, and also the positive for Strifecro is the second Lifecoach has seen that Thorison, anything's possible in terms of the combo. It's like he could have just reduced like the Golem, the Faceless, and the Power Overwhelming. So suddenly it's like you're in the mindset of playing against a Druid a lot of the time, where as the turns tick on, you're becoming more and more afraid of the combo. So you have to play around, or at least try and play around a certain amount of health pool.
Do you like anything else here than Thorison? Like Thorison hits a lot of key cards. It hits Dr. Boom for next turn. It hits the Darking Golem that's almost invisible on the left. Power Overwhelming, Dark Bomb. So you have a lot of damage potential anyway here. And Thorison is not contested by the 3/4 unless there is a Doomguard coming out of it.
Yeah. The thing is, what he's probably thinking about is Sylvanas, because the Void Caller, if that pulls Mal'Ganis, then you don't really have a good answer. Whereas this now makes the Void Caller really awkward, because Lifecoach, the Death Rattle and the Void Caller will proc before the Death Rattle on Sylvanas.
He has a Silence though, so that's an option for Lifecoach. And if he uses an Owl, he can also follow up with Defender of Argus and kill the 3/2 if he chooses to. The problem is, like, you might actually want to attack with the Void Caller and kill it, not to get it silenced. I'm not sure if you really want to have Jaraxxus on board at the moment versus Lock or Doomguard on another Void Caller.
Yeah, I mean, there is a crazy play. I don't think it's a fantastic one, but if you Owl the 5/5, attack the 3/2 with the Void Caller and then Mortal Coil, to then draw out another demon, potentially the Doomguard, to then kill off the Sylvanas.
I think that's actually very viable. I like it. Because I really wanted to have my coil this turn somehow. But you can also play a second Void Caller. That's really solid.
Yeah, I mean, that's still reasonable, because then Sylvanas doesn't... Well, one, yeah, you can kill the Void Caller, but you get, you have to then deal with whatever demon comes out. But now that Strifecro's trying to big game hunter, he's probably got to be thinking, if Mal'Ganis comes out, well, I just kill it. So now he's like, how worth is like trying to deal with this? Although he's got no real choice, because if he owls one, well, he has to deal with the other one.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you coil one and see what's up? What will happen with it and draw a card? Or do you want that Taurus on this turn? Now it's now we know it's going to die.
I think coiling one seems okay, because then Sylvanas with some of your other cards will kill anything that comes out that you care about. If Jaraxxus comes out, you can ignore it as the Reno lock until it gets taunted. If it doesn't come out something bigger, well, you have Dark Bomb, you have Power Overwhelming, which you do want to combo with, but if removing Mal'Ganis is a very real issue you need to deal with as the Reno. It looks like Strifecro's just pushing face though, because he does have Arcane Golem, Power Overwhelming, and Dark Bomb, so that's still a reasonable sum of burst, actually.
Yeah, if I'm looking at Strifecro's hand, I'm counting 5 plus 7, 12 points of damage, with Defender of Argus buffing the Golem as well. So yeah. It's really, really good for now.
And the good thing as well is Strifecro's sitting on an Owl, so if something big gets taunted, it's a 1-mana silence, so that's probably not going to be too much of a threat. If we see double taunt, then he has to do something and kill it. But he's also got 2 5/5s on the board, right? So, he's still got a pretty reasonable board in itself.
Yeah, but then Lifecoach has this amazing turn where he can get both Jaraxxus and Doomguard from his hand. And then just play Defender of Argus. Like even now, play Defender of Argus and then attack with the Void Caller into Sylvanas and then coil Sylvanas to get rid of her. He ends up with only 1 taunt. So I'm not sure if that's the best, but that's absolutely an option if you want to go for value.
Yeah, kind of interesting that he does go for the Argus. It's hard not to Argus up the Jaraxxus here, so you are right. He's going to trade, get the Doomguard on board, and this is like, shows the power of Void Caller. You've just used 2 minions to trade, summoned a 3/15 and a 5/7 with no negative cost from your hand. It's pretty reasonable, I guess.
It is, but he's almost dead. That's so crazy, actually, right? With the Silence, Strifecro has 11 12 damage. Would he actually fit the Defender of Argus as well into that? It's 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is he one off?
two off, I think.
Oh, is it 12 with the Argus? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. But then you look at Lifecoach's hand and it's suddenly double Molten Healbot. It's like, okay. It's kind of rough. This match could really go either way at this point.
That was really close. If that would be Faceless, was that it? Not really. No, not enough. If that would be Hellfire, was that it? With the Hellfire? That would be free. No, there is not enough mana to win with the Hellfire. Okay,
Yeah,
but
because the one mana from the owl. Right?
yeah, always one off. Dr. Boom Pass? Or...
I think it's the overall safest option.
Okay, he's silencing it now to limit the amount of health and...
And it's freeing up mana next turn, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because he still wants to use 2 at least, so he will want to have 6. And like if he gets Faceless next turn, he wants
Yeah,
to
it
be
fits
able to...
perfectly with the mana, right?
Yeah.
So now Lifecoach has to navigate this, and with no taunt givers, this could be a bit of a rough one, actually.
Yeah, it really depends on the bombs, and even if he heals with Healbot, if Strifecro gets Faceless Manipulator, he will have 16 plus 3, 19 points of damage. So it will be really tough. 2 damage to face makes a difference.
The only benefit, though, is with the damage to face, it means he can play or potentially tap double Molten and still play the heal bot, and then just hope he can deal with enough damage and not die the following turn. Because other than a Twisting Nether, 2 Moltens plus this board is going to cause some major issue for Strifecro.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. All right, Strifecro still has 12 damage in hand.
Is Lifecoach going to play around this? Because now it's either Healbot or Moltens. Oh, and he's tapping.
Oh,
That's
man.
just game, right?
He's just dead right here. And Strifecro is like, why would you? Okay, I guess I'll take this win.
Yeah, if you really want me to kill you, then yeah, I suppose so. That's fine. And as you see the Arcane Golem down, it's not too often you see this card and then not die that turn against Reno Lock. So yeah, some burst there from Strifecro, and Lifecoach goes down 2-1 so far.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you cannot blame Lifecoach. You hope that your opponent has standard cards, and when you play versus Reno Lock, like how many times do you really think there is a combo? And like it's not even a combo. So Strifecro had 3 pieces. That deal damage. If that would be, let's say, Arcane Golem with Faceless, that's not enough. That's 8, right? If it's Arcane Golem plus PO, it's not enough. If it's well, Hellfire Arcane, like he needed to have 3 cards specifically to be able to kill Lifecoach on that specific turn.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems is if he played Healbot instead, then yeah, okay, you're on 18 or whatever he would have been on, but then he doesn't set up lethal next turn. So whereas you put 2 Molten Giants down, it's like next turn I'm going to kill you unless you clear the board. So there's valid lines of play from Lifecoach, but Strifecro had the answers there, and he had them for a long time. That little burst combo.
Yeah, I feel like Lifecoach. It's happening kind of like the second time Lifecoach is making a bit of a greedy play. It's really hard to say which play is a bit better, but I'm sure Lifecoach will explain in detail why he made that decision.
Yeah, and just to go over quickly, because I don't know if we've mentioned it, the overall class lineups for these guys. Lifecoach is on Warlock, Druid, and Rogue, and Strifecro is on Druid, Warlock, and Paladin. So, I mean, just looking at these overall, a lot of Druid and Warlock from the players from the whole tournament so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And some wars as well. We've seen Shaman at one moment.
Yeah, that was Hoy, right?
I think... Yeah, Hoy was playing Shaman. Was Dog playing Shaman as well? I think Dog was also playing
Shaman.
I
think he was, yeah.
But they both got eliminated, so Shaman...
So Shaman's bad, right?
Apparently.
So, yeah, but, I think it's interesting to see the differences in that. I think Warlock is picked a lot because it's very flexible and hard to deal with, and the archetypes are very different. And then Druid is just solid as a rock in terms of deck. So, it's really difficult for these players who are top of the game to not pick a deck that's one of the most consistent decks in the game at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But you will be happy to hear that Druid is actually losing a lot with standard rotation.
good.
It's losing Shade of Naxxramas. Period.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But we can all hope that, and if I'm honest, I was really glad when I heard this, probably more so than anything else. But with the standard, when Blizzard announced they were actually going back to look at the base set, like that was really nice to see. That they're not just like, oh yeah, the base set's fine, because then decks like Druid would become very, very scary, or scarier still. But the fact that we might go into this new standard format with a few altercations to the base set is really nice. I think that could be really good for the game also.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the future, but I'm still excited about this match specifically. Lifecoach thinking if he wants to innervate Shade or coin Wild Growth, or maybe even pass. Sometimes you might want to pass this Druid on first turn to Wild Growth next, and then you have innervate and coin open for a different place. So decides to go for innervate, but it's a really hard decision which line of play to take versus Paladin early. But definitely this matchup favors Paladin, and as Druid you are playing from behind. What you want to do is to combat the board early game, to deal with whatever is being played, and then just forge yourself an opportunity to win with the combo, because it's not always easy. If Paladin goes into great curve, kills everything you play, and then hides behind Belchers and Noble Sacrifice with Mistress Challenger, you might not have an opportunity to win.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way Lifecoach played that last turn was really good. He used resources, what I would say correctly, because he innovated out the Shade. One, that gives him a minion to challenge the board, which, as he said, is important. But also, it's the best way his cards fit together. So, turn 2 Wild Growth, turn 3, if he needs to, he can coin Druid of the Claw. Whereas if he went coin Wild Growth, he would then either on turn 3 play the Shade or innovate Druid of the Claw, and then have to play the other one off curve. And then it just wouldn't slot together very well. And there's definitely something to be said for, even though it might not look like the most obvious plays, actually just making the most of your mana potential every single turn normally does get you ahead.
Oh, certainly. And I also want to talk about the card that Strifecro is holding in his hand. It's Divine Favor. So a very interesting choice for a Paladin deck, where some Paladins, in Secret Paladin specifically, cut it. Some people play one. What do you think about the card? Is it good?
Yeah, I think it either works really well or it doesn't, I think. But I think in terms of a tournament setting, when you know your opponents, it can be very powerful. Because if I said to you, you can either take Divine Favor versus Lifecoach, for example, or not take it, I don't know about you, but I would take it.
Yeah.
Because the odds on someone playing control decks and Lifecoach being that someone, pretty high. And Divine Favor can actually just win you games because you effectively had card draw you shouldn't have as this deck, normally.
Yeah, I absolutely agree there. And that True Silver Champion for Strifecro was amazing. That's one of the best cards for Druid when you play Paladin, to deal with those big creatures that they try to ramp. And deals great with Druid of the Claw, as we've just seen. But Strifecro is not out of the woods yet. He doesn't pressure that much, and that big Shade is a good threat. And Lifecoach can play Keeper this turn as well, just to deal with the 2/2 and start pressuring with the 5/4. If he attacks face with the 5/4, then he forces Strifecro to attack into it with the weapon, and he will take an extra 3 damage, 8 total. And then the 2/4 will still remain on board.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure. And as you said, even the 2/4 remain on board, like, if your opponent has to deal with that for the Shade, they probably don't have much to deal with the Keeper. And also, speaking of Divine Favor, Lifecoach's hand isn't exactly big at the moment, especially since you consider he's almost certainly going to play one of those 2 minions that are highlighted at the moment.
Yeah, so if you play Shade, is there room for Shade this turn? You Shade, you Hero Power face.
To be fair, judging the way Lifecoach has been playing this evening, I think getting the second Shade down was probably more like him, because he wants that Shade value now.
Yeah.
And still, this requires a weapon or some other form of awkward removal from Strifecro, because let's be honest, we can see the Juggler, and the odds on the Juggler coming down, killing the Shade off with the Juggles afterwards, especially because he can play another minion after, are pretty high. But if that didn't happen, if Strifecro didn't have a Juggler, then suddenly Lifecoach is way ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, there is a good argument to keep the Keeper in the hand. That's Tyrion Forging that we see in the hand of Strifecro as well. So when Tyrion is being dropped on turn 8, if you don't have a Keeper, you're in trouble. Not only because it's just a 6/6 with Divine Shield, Ashbringer that's coming back is a huge problem for the Druid. But here Lifecoach has no choice. He has to go for that Keeper of the Grove.
Yeah, and this is still pretty reasonable. We can see the 2/4 is going to get destroyed by the True Silver from Strifecro, more than likely. But still, okay, the Secret Keeper's not too bad. I think we might just see Secret Keeper Divine Favor now, because the longer you hold on, 3 mana for 2 cards, it's Arcane Intellect, right? So it's not the end of the world. And because he had a 1-drop, which is one of the issues Secret Paladin runs into late game, is top decking these low minions, it meant that, yeah, I probably got the mana to at least do something.
It's not the end of the world to draw 2 cards for 3 mana. Like, are you playing Warrior mostly, I guess? Used to Battle Rage, 2 mana, draw 4, instead of a poor mage deck.
No, I'm just used to Divine Favoring when my opponent's got 9 cards in hand.
Oh, yeah.
or Harrison in a Doomhammer, for example. That's, do you not do that all the time, then?
The value. Well, I do it from time to time, but that's a good deal, I think. 2 cards for 3 mana, it feels okay.
And this is a tough choice for Strifecro, which is why he's taking a lot of his time. Minibot, fantastic. Probably one of, if not the best 2-drop in the game. But getting the almost guaranteed value off Revenge whilst also buffing a Secret Keeper wins out here. He can still play the Minibot next turn and still have 5 mana knocking around for something else, maybe Lothar or something. But I do agree and like the Secret choice, because it makes removal of these minions so much more awkward for Lifecoach.
Yeah, absolutely. But then Lifecoach is playing Dr. Boom, so he can wait. He doesn't have
to.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, he's like, okay.
Do what you want. Boom.
Pass. He might consider attacking the Shade, but I think keeping Shade in the hand at the moment is a bit better. You will not fight versus minions that much. And if you attack to the Secret Keeper and if there's a Venge, you bring a bit more power to the board. And even if there is a Secret being played next turn, that Secret Keeper will not be that big. You still are ahead with that Dr. Boom.
Yeah, I think Lifecoach is weighing up the risk reward of the Noble Sacrifice as well. Just Noble Sacrifice, and he attacks him with the Shade, and he just gets blown out pretty hard. As you know, it can then be cleaned up relatively easy by Strifecro, and the Secret Keeper lives.
Yeah, absolutely. But whenever he decides to attack or not, I don't think that it's really clear what's the best decision there. And Strifecro picks only Noble Sacrifice, so a very weak turn from his side.
Yeah, and this is when Secret Paladin whiffs. I mean, we can see that Tyrion's there for turn 8, so we know that's coming. But if you imagine Tyrion was any other card in the deck that isn't Mysterious Challenger, suddenly top decking a 1-mana Secret on 7 mana when you're effectively floating 5. Up until that draw is kind of rough.
It is. So like a lot of people remember the perfect curve from Paladins when it happens, because this is something you really remember, right? Those are memorable moments when you get stomped, but they rarely remember that sometimes Paladin just does nothing. It just stares at you and be like, "Hey, I have my light," and that's it. That's what I have.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit rough, and this happens more often than people will probably say. Like you said, a lot of people just remember the bad times against Mysterious Challenger, but when you see it sort of, you see the Paladin just play like a Creeper on turn 8, Creeper Hero Power Pass with no cards in hand. That does happen.
Yeah, it does. And now the bombs didn't kill the Secret Keeper, but still, Lifecoach is in a good position, and mostly because he doesn't have to fear being bursted down. He can slam whatever minion he feels like. He doesn't have lethal yet, especially because there's Noble Sacrifice. But he can just slam Ancient of Lore, or even just go for the trade. So like, because he got Wrath and he has Force of Nature, if he wants to do a really Lifecoach play, he might go for a clear, like something almost like a clear.
Yeah, I mean, he could actually Wrath for 1, see what he draws.
Yeah.
And then
either proc, right?
Yeah, see how the secrets proc, and then go Force of Nature to clear up. Yeah, this way's fine as well, because this way I suppose he gets to proc Noble Sacrifice and see what how that works, and then follow up with a bigger Wrath if need be, on something that gains the Avenge, because there are a lot of 1/2 minions here.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine, and that's especially good because Paladin is out of cards. So the best card you expect on next turn is Tyrion. And if you have 2 big minions, you can deal with Tyrion. Like, even take that damage, shapeshift into Tyrion, kill it with Dr. Boom, and go the Shade to face if Tyrion is the only minion on board. But yeah, pressuring, always nice.
Yeah, and getting that use out of the Shade as well, really big, and something that a lot of...
managed to Wrath? What is happening? No, no Raf. Okay.
What did he miss?
No, I think it's fine.
He looked very upset for a second then. Did he attack with the boom?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what he missed
to
then.
face. That's why Strifecro is at 13.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Getting thrown off by Lifecoach's reactions. But yeah, getting the value from the shade and actually attacking is something that a lot of maybe lesser experienced players don't do. Like, I think a lot of Druid players get locked into the thought of the shade's just going to keep growing and then I'll combo him for 1,000,000, and that's it. And it's like, no, you actually kind of want to attack with the shade because you're missing out on potential additional damage.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And now Strifecro decides how to attack and what to play. If he goes 5-4 into the 5-5, he can play Tyrion, and then Tyrion is uncontested by Boom, and Haunted Reaper survives. So whatever happens, then if Boom goes into Tyrion, then Haunted Reaper can make a cleanup and kill the Goblin, and you still have the Ashbringer, and you stop Druid from advancing. If there is a silence, you are still alive anyway.
Yeah, and this is the best way to survive combo, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking...
I think if combo came down with just Mysterious Challenger, then he would lose anyway.
Yeah.
So I think this is the only way he survives combo, I think. Or maybe he doesn't survive combo, actually.
Okay,
oh, no, he doesn't.
If there's a combo, you can attack into the shield with the hero, and then there's only 12, so...
Yeah, I don't think he'd survive it because the boom would hit for 9.
Yeah, and then that one of the trends. But it doesn't matter, there is no combo. There is Ancient of Lore, though, and you can heal Dr. Boom after attacking, or you can heal yourself to not die. And, well, do you even kill Tyrion here? Yeah, you probably do.
Yeah, I guess. Because the thing is, Tyrion can then kill the 5-5, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I suppose you do that, and then if your opponent if Strifecro wants to run in the weapon to the 5-5, then Lifecoach is probably okay with that at this moment in time.
That Master for Battle is so trollish, Raven, so trollish. Oh, I
Clearly you play Master Challenger here. But this is genuinely one of the issues. Like, the late game draws from Paladin are normally so bad, unless you've not drawn any late game, in which you're probably in a bad position anyway.
The fun fact is, Strifecro is actually in a good position. He doesn't know it yet, but Lifecoach doesn't have any spells and no possible burst. So Strifecro goes for killing the 5-5, killing Dr. Boom, establishing Mysterious Challenger. He's in a good position. Like, he might even get Adventurers and go 5 to face and play that Mysterious Challenger. I don't know what's better though. Like, he will have minions and Mysterious Challenger. That has to be good. I don't know how many secrets he has left.
Yeah, this is definitely awkward. So rough though, because like you said, Strifecro's in the mindset of where, like, yeah, my opponent's probably just got stuff now. I'm only on 8 health, but Lifecoach doesn't have anything directly impactful yet.
Yeah, Lifecoach, he can just
die
here.
Living Roots.
He can actually just die here. So if there is Competitive Spirit, there is 7 plus at least 6 more, so that's 13. That's basically 18 damage.
So he has to attack with his hero power. Hope the Avenge goes onto the 6/6 and then BGH, right?
Yeah.
Is that the only reasonable way to come out of this? Because I don't think Azure Drake Swipe, does that do yeah, I suppose that would do enough.
We have all 4 secrets, right? So basically we have Noble Sacrifice, Avenge, Competitive Spirit, and Redemption.
Yeah, I think so.
Or have we seen double Noble Sacrifice already? Or double Revenge? I think we've seen 1 Avenge and 1 Noble Sacrifice. So yeah, with that, that's a really bad spot. And if Strifecro wins this game, he will win the match. So let's see if Avenge lands on that Mysterious Challenger.
Needs to lock it in quick because the animations are gonna. I guess he just hovers the BGH over to see if he can do it. He's just trying to read Lifecoach's expressions here.
No.
Did this happen? No, it didn't. So how much damage?
Lifecoach is already.
Just lethal,
he
right?
conceded already.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's already game. Wow, what a series.
Yeah, that was quite interesting, especially because it seemed that Strifecro is not drawing into much. We remember that turn 7 and turn 6 without much pressure, but in the end, Tyrion on 8 and Mysterious Challenger on 9. So, Raven, is this one of the games that we will remember as one of those games versus Mysterious Challenger deck?
Potentially, yeah, potentially. Especially when the turn was dealt with, so then the weapon's just doing so much extra damage. It's pretty insane. But I think more of those sets where it's Lifecoach versus Strifecro, it's definitely going to be memorable either way.
All right, so who's playing next? We have the winners bracket. So Strifecro won versus Lifecoach. He's advancing to the winners bracket. And then the last game was Sjow. So Strifecro versus Sjow coming up next. And after that, we'll see Orange versus Lifecoach. And then one more match will be the winners match of Orange versus Lifecoach and versus loser of Strifecro versus Sjow. So 3 more matches for you guys today. A lot more Hearthstone. Stay tuned. It's Nimsh and Raven. See you in a moment.